This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
The Dallas Cowboys select Tyler Smith.
And now, your host, Kyle Youmans.
Today is Wednesday, January 25th, 2023. We are 92 days away from the 2023 NFL Draft in Kansas City, Missouri, as we are back on the Draft Show presented by Miller Lite here from the Star in Frisco. And ladies and gentlemen, we've got some work to do. How about that? We've got some work to do. Bryan Broaddus, Bobby Belt, Iisha Morrison making her Draft Show debut. Very warm welcome to the squad. I'm Kyle Youmans. How are we doing today?
I'll tell you what, you said 92 days, right?
92.
All right. We'll get there eventually. Next thing you know, it'll be there'll be 42 days until the draft. But yeah, it's great to be with everybody, and I always look forward to. This is one of my favorite podcasts that I do. Bobby, I'm sorry, I know we do our podcast together and stuff like that.
Jeez.
We got all the stuff on, but this is my favorite one. It really, really is because I love team building. I love talking about players. I love discussions. I love ideas. I love disagreements. I live for that in a war room setting, and that's what. If I can't do that anymore like I used to, this is the next best thing for me. And I'm so excited to be with you guys and make this journey to the draft.
And we're excited to be along for it because another thing you love is teaching and learning the game and having others learn the game. And I certainly did 4 years ago whenever I jumped on the Draft Show for the first time. Same thing with KT, Jeff Kavanaugh, Bobby over at the Fan whenever they were all there. I mean, It's such a learning environment, not only for the people in this room, but for the people listening. And I think that's what's going to be the most exciting thing about this year. Bobby, glad to have you back for your second straight campaign.
Yep, I'm ready. Well, I'm half ready. I'm not Bryan Broaddus ready yet.
Is anybody really?
I don't think any of us are.
No. You can't be.
I'm worried about that young lady taking it to me on some of these.
That's what's going to happen.
I see no back down. When I watch her shows, I see no back down. So I'm kind of a little bit nervous about having to battle somebody over on the other side of this table.
Yeah, no, this is one where, the Cowboys. I was telling you last night, the night Dak got hurt in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
I drove home and I believe I turned on. It was Peter Skoronski, the Northwestern
offensive tackle.
I turned on Peter Skoronski tape, and then I watched Joey Porter. And I was like, all right, here we go, gonna get going. And then
you're thinking a top 5 pick.
Man, they put it together. They put it together, and they delayed. They put me on a delay. So I'm not at Broaddus levels yet, but we're gonna get there.
Iisha, glad to have you along for your debut as well. What can we expect? Because right now, the way that Broaddus just set it up, me and Bobby are going to be the mediators of this group here.
Man, I'm not going to be argumentative on here. I'm going to be fine. I mean,
I'm going to clip that and bring it up next time you're argumentative.
The first time I could see her crossing the table on some of these players. I can see that.
No, I mean, the thing I'm learning is that I think we all look at the game differently.
We do.
I think we all look at it differently. So I'm going to try to listen to what everyone is saying and not just trust my eyes all the time because I'm still learning myself. So I'm not going to be argumentative. But if I feel like I'm right, I might.
Hey, that's what we want. We want that war room feel where you don't always agree. You don't always get there. But
it's no fun that way.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's no fun that way.
It's going to be a blast.
It is.
So here's the thing. Like Bobby just mentioned, the Cowboys did not indeed go 1-17 or whatever it ended up being, 1-16. They went 12-5 in the regular season, made it to the divisional round, and they will pick at number 26 overall. It's actually the number 27 slot, but the 21st pick was forfeited by Miami in that little tampering scandal.
The
issue.
The
Stephen Ross,
the kerfuffle, exactly. Yeah. So they forfeited that pick. That slides the Cowboys down 1. But they'll pick 27th in every round after that. They have a pick in every single round. So all the draft capital is still there, and you could potentially get 3 comp picks for Connor Williams, Randy Gregory, and then add on Cedric Wilson as the third one. So you could potentially have up to 10 picks here, Bryan. Where is the talent located in the draft?
Yeah, as we get started on this journey, and I think we're all kind of figuring this out, you're trying to put Like, to me, I feel like guys that I've seen a lot of cornerbacks.
Yes.
I feel like I've seen a lot of wide receivers. I felt like I've seen some, and I've heard some of your takes about wide receivers already. So, but I've felt like I've seen offensive tackles. Maybe not the center or maybe a couple of guards, but more offensive tackles. A lot of edge so far. And so, when you get to about 100 players into this thing, you're starting to see a little bit. And that's kind of how the pattern for me is. When you stack them all, is it going to be like, oh man, it looks like there's going to be a complete run that you're going to be able to take on those defensive ends? Is there something with those offensive tackles? I think that's the thing every year that we've gotten a little bit better with is these offensive tackles as we do this show. The wide receivers, there's some names there. Is the quality of what we've seen the past couple of years? That's going to be debatable for a lot of folks, I think, on this show.
And I think edge rusher, we've seen good classes of edge rushers lately. Is it as top heavy though? Do you have the Aiden Hutchinsons, the Kayvon Thibodeaux, the Trayvon Walkers at the top of this draft that you normally do, or is it a deeper edge rusher draft when you look at it as a whole?
I think there's some guys that are maybe second, third round that could do some things for you. I was looking at I can't say his name. Well,
is it Kansas State?
I think y'all was just that's what y'all was just saying. I was looking at him earlier.
So it's Felix Onyedike Uzama.
Yeah.
Yep,
I mean,
that's it.
I guess you can consider him Felix.
Yeah.
Felix
Uzama.
Felix K or Felix A.K.
No, I do. I think that it is like Brian said. It's a lot of edge guys in here. I was impressed by a lot of the DPs. I was like, dang, this is. Maybe that's why the wide receivers look like crap. That's what we was talking about. That's what we was talking about yesterday with Chris Beam. He was like, "Why we're sitting up here? I'm sitting up here like I don't know about the wide receivers because these DBs is kind of ferocious."
DBs are really good. Do you liked the wide receivers that you've looked at?
Yeah,
Ryan?
I tell you what, there were a couple of guys there too, and where the line is going to be drawn, I don't know. When you start to talk about, Quentin Johnston from TCU as a guy, I know a lot of people have him as one of the top guys. Where do you have Jordan Addison from USC? I mean, there's that Jackson Smith and Jigba at Ohio State is another one.
Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, and maybe this is funny because Iisha and I were talking about this. She's like, "Man, are you sure about these wide receivers?" And I think she's right about something. I don't think you have that group with the CeeDee Lamb or the Chase or the guys, the Jeffersons, the guys like that. I don't know if it's at the top of the board like that. I think she's more right about it. The more you go back, if I had to stack this, you would probably have some guys ahead of some of those wide receivers. But I don't think it's a bad group. I just don't know, and I really like what she's talking about where are those guys? Where are they going to fit if you need one? Is one of these guys like with Jackson Smith and Jigba, is he a guy that you would probably could have a chance at 26? That's the thing because
he's dealing with injuries too. You don't necessarily know where he's going to be.
Right. See, that's what I'm trying to say. What guys? I think the Cowboys, if I had to make an early thought about the Cowboys, I think it's very much sit and let the board come to them. I don't see anything right now that's making me say, well, I need to move up. I mean, you're going to have potentially a lot of picks.
Yep.
Those comp picks are tradable. So, maybe you could find a way to manipulate and go forward. But until I stack this thing up, man, I'm just kind of like looking at it and going, okay, I think there's certain spots, certain pockets I can hit at some of these positions.
Well, when you talk about the receivers, like they are deep, but it isn't. It's a flawed group. Like even the three that we just threw out there, like they all have warts and problems with them. Jordan Addison, a lot of people are gonna feel like he's too small.
6 foot 175, right?
Yeah,
something like that.
You've got the size issue there on Jackson Smith and Jigba. You've got the injuries and how healthy he can stay. Quentin Johnston, like I love Quentin Johnston. Like that would be my number one receiver. But even Quentin Johnston, a guy where it's like, why does it look like at times it's so difficult for a 6'4", 215-pound receiver to get off press like it has been at times for him? He and again, I love Quentin Johnston, but is he, does he, get off press as well? Does he sink his hips? Is he as clean a route runner as he needs to be? I don't see a guy who is necessarily as as clean as you'd want it to be for a guy that's at the top of the receiver class. But that's my point in general about the receivers, that it's deep. There are guys to like, but I don't think there's anybody where it's like you were saying earlier, it's not like, oh, here's CeeDee Lamb, or here's Jamar Chase, or here's, whoever.
Yeah.
You raised those eyebrows over there when you heard that.
No, I was agreeing. No.
That's the first. I looked over; those eyebrows went straight up when he was talking about press and all that.
I'm super biased because DB is the first position I actually learned how it's played and stuff. So I think there's some good press corners in this.
And there are.
That's what I'm saying.
If I had to look at this class right now and say there was a strength, it would be in the secondary. I think it would be corner now of the draft, because there's 5 or 6 guys that I really feel comfortable with taking in the first round at the moment. I mean, of course, draft grades aren't complete by no stretch of the imagination, but there are high-end guys right now at the cornerback spot. Wide receiver, I think I'm right on with you guys. I think this is a class that has guys that will come in and make an impact, but are they top 15 picks? Are they home run picks? Like you have with the Devontae Smiths and the CeeDee Lambs and the Jerry Judys and these guys that we've seen previously and that have come out and immediately been on a roster and been that number one wide receiver? Not necessarily. I think these are all guys that are either projects or they've got question marks around them. That doesn't mean sitting at 26 you should pass up on a wide receiver. That just means you might have some more to look at wide receiver.
Do y'all be struggling to obviously I'm new. I'm just now starting to watch more college tape, and boy, that clapping gets on my nerves.
Oh, when they clap after
snap?
Yeah, it's just so. It's such a big difference between obviously from college to the league. And I was just, who was I watching doing that last night? I was watching one of the quarterbacks, and he was just like. Yeah. He was faking and stuff, and I was like, "What is?" I mean, I understand it, but
Stroud will do that.
It drives me bonkers. Sorry.
I'll tell you, okay. If I could, you're talking about the corners of the press corners you've seen in the Cowboys. That obviously is something that the Cowboys are going to talk about here, with their own situation, though. All right, I don't know, but early, this Keely Ringo from Georgia, everybody's got him as one of the top guys. I'm not going to lie. I'm scared to death of him, to be honest with you.
It's all traits.
Christian Gonzalez, the corner from Oregon. These are the top 2 guys that I'm seeing on some of these lists, on some top 100 lists and stuff like that. I got down to Joey Porter Jr. from Penn State, and I'm like, cornerback, got one. So to me, I mean, that's what's going to be the beauty of how we start this. I felt like if you look at some of these initial lists, it's like I wouldn't have Keely Ringo at Georgia as my top guy as corner. I've got some questions I mentioned about Christian Gonzalez from Oregon as well. Oregon's put some kids in the league here recently playing corner and playing pretty well. But I that's the big mystery is okay, when you sort this out, maybe the corners in this draft, and Iisha, I don't know, maybe you feel differently. I kind of feel like, though, of the top 2, I wasn't enamored with. Everybody else below that, I was a little bit more interested in.
Who your top 2? Who your top 2?
No, well, the Gonzalez and Ringo as kind of consensus too. Here's the good news for you, Brian. Christian Gonzalez isn't getting to the Cowboys at 26.
No, there's no way.
He
no.
Ringo could.
See, that's what I'm saying, though. I just did not. I was not. The thing with Gonzalez and Ringo clearly, as I think that people have him way too high.
It's all traits with Ringo.
Way too high.
And there were times whenever you look at him on film and he's getting beat on simple stuff.
Yeah.
It's all traits all the way together. I like Christian Gonzalez a lot. He's my top guy right now. He's my top corner because I like the way that he's got the athleticism. The only thing with him is his strength. I need him to bulk up a little bit more. I need him to press a little bit
You
better.
liked him the most?
Nah, I don't want y'all to crucify me. Who I think is a guy.
What do you got? Speak up.
Forbes.
There you go.
I think that Forbes.
Emmanuel Forbes.
I
There
think
you go.
Emmanuel Forbes.
You and I might get along on this show.
He's interesting to me because he's lengthy, right? So he kind of on the field. You see him. When I saw him, I immediately thought he looked like Nashawn Wright-ish. I was like, dang, he's so long.
Yeah.
But then when you see how physical he is and the way he uses his length, I think he jams well at the line. Yeah. But he just has a nose for the ball.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that's because he's smart. I think he reads well. But I was impressed with how much he was willing to come down and tackle in the box. He plays at every level. Only thing is that, he's going to take risk. He's going to take risk, and he's one of those guys. But I don't know. I saw some good things in him, and I think he could be a sleeper. I think he's just, when you play corner, you got to be like, I'm that guy. And he has that I'm that guy mentality watching him. So I really like him.
I'll tell you what, I think you got the guy
What
right.
you think, Bobby?
No, he has some digs to him.
Yes.
Where it's like the ball production's really good, the size is good, but like you do question he's over aggressive at times, and it gets him hurt.
Yeah.
Especially against a good wide receiver, good route runner.
Yeah. Bouncing back to Ringo, I'm curious, Bryant. Do you have any concerns at all? Because I thought last year he was much better than he was this past year. Ringo was.
Yeah.
Do you have any concern at all that you're putting too much emphasis on the big plays the way everybody seeed to with AJ Terrell when he was coming out? Ringo and Terrell are very similar.
I like Terrell better than Ringo, though.
Did you?
Yes.
I just remember Terrell took a lot of heat for it. Like I feel like the Terrell and Ringo conversations to this point are playing out very similar. And obviously they're two different players, so you can't just say, well, Terrell succeeded, so Ringo will as well. I'm just saying, is that something that you would guard against a little bit? Am I looking too much at the splash plays of a young player getting
Do you
burned?
feel like this guy can really run? Do you feel like he can really catch up?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you really?
Yep.
Oh. I'll tell you what, Oregon, Auburn, Florida, LSU, games I got to watch.
I think he can run.
I said Auburn, Florida, LSU.
Yeah.
So, those are 3 games he should have impressed you in. It's not like he's playing up against.
To me, I saw separation there when you watched him play. Maybe I felt like there was more separation in the Oregon game than others. But, the thing about it is, to me, I just felt like that when she's talking about this guy's 6'2", he's 210. That's the measurables you're working off right now. I kind of felt like when she was talking about Forbes and what I can live with the way that he plays, because I kind of feel like though he's gonna make more plays. He's gonna defend more pass. Yeah, there's a looseness to his game, and maybe he comes off plays and stuff like that. I just feel like a guy that reads really quick, really reacts well. He'll undercut some routes. He's got a nose for the ball. She said that exactly right. He's got ball skills. He puts himself in a lot more positions to make plays. Plus, he throws his body around in there. That's when I'm watching that on tape. That's why I'm me, the guy that carries the routes across the field, stuff like that. That's what I see. Yeah, he's 6 foot. He's 180 pounds. He looks rail thin on tape. He really
looks
does.
tiny on tape.
He does. He looks, and the guy makes a ton of plays. He plays with an edge. I like that about the kid. I really, really do.
And the thing about Ringo, one of the knocks that I had is one, he doesn't travel. He's stuck on one side of the formation. That's not a terrible knock. But mine is he doesn't want to come down and hit you in the run defense either. No. He doesn't want to come downhill. He's more of a finesse guy. He's got the speed. I agree with Bobby. I think he can run. I think he can run with anybody. But is he my number one guy? I would actually put Gonzalez above him, because everything you just said about Emmanuel Forbes.
What you think about
Gonzalez? I think about Gonzalez. I think he's a guy, he's sticky. He stays on top of guys at the top of their routes. He breaks to the ball. He's got a good read both in zone and in press. He's not the strongest guy in the fold, but he's somebody that's going to come up and put hands on you if you need to. So I like this. We've got some corner talk early on.
How about
because
that?
That's going to be one of the positions I think this Cowboys team is going to talk about.
That's going to be a line, by the way, about all these cornerbacks that we said about a couple of these guys already. Is they're skinny. There's a lot of skinny.
Oh no,
corners
there's some long.
Ringo's not one of those guys. He's
no.
stout.
Ringo's built pretty well, but like Gonzalez, like Witherspoon, Smith, like they're all I think pretty lanky.
Can I ask you? Do you guys think that's maybe like a trend now? Because I feel like. Just looking at this, like you said, I was looking at them. I was like, why are so many of these guys small? I know that a lot of players are trying to stay more lean now, but I was really thrown off with how many guys were slim looking for corner. I was like,
how big was Sauce Gardner last year? He wasn't
Sauce
very big.
was 6'3", and what was he, like 185 or something? He was thin.
Maybe some guys that were thought about initially as being wide receivers. All of a sudden, all they would think about, they're going to play him at wide receiver, tall and thin, and then you can't play receiver, so now they move him over to corner.
Brian said, "You don't have hands, go play corner."
Yeah, I feel like so many of them have long arms, and
long guys.
That's a new thing. That's to me a thing that I feel like I haven't seen a lot lately.
And I thought it was funny you brought up Nashawn Wright. his brother's in this draft, Rayshawn Wright, who was the star of The Last Chance U. He was at Laney College and then followed Nashawn to Oregon State. He's also in this draft class. A little bit further down than the guys we're talking about here, but I thought I'd throw that out there for Nashawn. All right, let's take our first break. When we come back, it's the first edition of Twitter on the 20 that we've got here in 2023. We'll ask and answer your fan questions when we come back right after this.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Home Ownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
Lil Sweet! Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Lil Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is.
It's a non-fungible token. Everyone's done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Are you ready to take coffee off your grocery list forever? Black Rifle Coffee Club is here to help. As a coffee club member, you'll get your favorite coffees roasted, packaged, and shipped to your door free of charge on your preferred schedule. Set it, forget it, and never run low on coffee again. Members also get exclusive deals on coffee, products, and discounts from partner brands. Ease your mind and let Black Rifle worry about your coffee supply. Go to blackriflecoffee.com to join the coffee club today.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Back here on the Draft Show presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It's Miller time, and it's officially draft time as well. Bryan Broaddus, Iisha Morrison, Bobby Belt. I'm Kyle Youmans. Chris Beam running everything in the back. It's time now for your favorite segment, Cowboys and draft fans. It's time now for some Twitter on the 20.
Twitter on the 20.
The sounder, of course, coming from Chris Beam. This is every year. How long has this been a tradition?
Oh, geez. We were over
Since
at
the start?
Valley Ranch, yeah.
Back in the Ed Cahill days?
Back in the Ed Cahill days, yeah. It was something we kind of created this thing to be that.
There was Twitter?
Well,
How old do you think they are?
It's been a while. It's been about 11 years. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we ask the question every week, and we'll answer all the fan questions based off of the Twitter response. I'm going to keep a running total of how many we get to this year. We're going to try and get to 5 today.
I promise I won't talk long.
It's not just your fault.
I'm going to need
Don't
you to
worry.
talk long. Like I said, I'm 20 in, Brian.
Yeah, I'm still. Listen, I'm still.
You got it, Brian. It's all you. This is Twitter on the Brian. All right. Thomas Davis asks, what can we do to help the quarterback succeed? That should be the first priority this offseason for the Cowboys front office, is helping Dak Prescott. Brian, we'll start with you.
I kind of feel like, though, you need to evaluate really where you're at wide receiver. Do you feel like you've got enough weapons there? Do you feel like you've got, to me, you look at what's going on with the coordinator as well. Might be time to move on. I know that's another show, another day and all that, but, you're in a process right now where the coordinator's interviewing for another job. But, maybe you want a situation. I think that maybe some things have kind of run their course here with this coordinator. And so, to me, I can't move on from the quarterback. So I got to find ways to help him with whether it's coaching or whether it's the skill on the offense. And so, you look at the wide receiver, you got to figure out the running back situation, the offensive line situation with Tyron Smith. There's a lot of questions that still need to be answered, but I think the number one thing is to figure out what's going on with that offensive coordinator.
Yeah, if you're talking specifically related to, since this is the draft show, like what in the draft can help your quarterback? Like what is most can help this quarterback? Okay, well, what are things you can help? You can help protect him. You can help in the running game and try
Did
and
I just say that?
No, I'm just saying I'm saying there are these different ways that you can do it to help within the draft. And so for me, that would be the receiver is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Is that you got to make sure. Look, there's going to be an evaluation period of. And I don't think they're ready to give up on him or anything, but obviously there's an evaluation period with Jalen Tolbert that even if they believe in him, it's a big jump to say he's going from game day inactive to regular contributor next year. It's probably not going to be a jump that aggressive. So you're going to have to look at that. You're going to have to look at where Michael Gallup's at. Is this our legitimate number 2? Is Noah Brown back? So with all those questions that are up there, I would, if you're going to ask me today, what's the odds-on favorite of what position they take in the first round, I'd say receiver. That would be my guess right now. And I think it's just that would be the biggest way to help your quarterback right now. If you go, how can I help my quarterback? Go get me Jordan Addison. Go get me Jackson Smith and Jigba. Go get me somebody like that.
Well, they could be in a situation, too, real quick, Iisha, where the one thing that they've done well is draft first-round offensive linemen, especially if you're picking at 26.
They've knocked that out of the park.
If you got things figured out with Tyron Smith and all that, maybe the offensive line would be a big help.
No, and to your point, Bobby, in regard to the wide receiver thing, we've been talking about the fact that we don't know how many of these receivers take you over the top or can just come in and be a contributor right away. So you might have to go early to get a guy that can come in and be a difference maker right away.
That's going to be the biggest drawback to a wide receiver is if you don't go up and get one early, is everybody going to look at this and say, is it Jalen Tolbert again? Because Jalen Tolbert was expected to come in and play snaps, and instead he wasn't even on the active roster throughout the season.
Oh yeah. I don't want it to be revisionist history. I was all for taking Jalen
Same
Tolbert.
Here.
I was too.
Where they took Sam Williams, I wanted them to take Jalen Tolbert.
Yeah.
So I was a big fan.
I'm right there with you.
It didn't work out the first year.
No
Still time.
doubt. Now, you brought up offensive linemen, too, kind of throwing up protection into that conversation. You mentioned there's a lot of tackles, not a lot of interior guys with Tyron Smith. Of course, we don't know what Tyron's going to do. Is he going to retire? Is he going to be back? Still up in the air. But where do you go with drafting an offensive lineman? Do you go interior, even though there might not be as many top-heavy guys in this draft?
I think that they've proven that they could take a guy and feel like they're interested. If he could play tackle, they feel like he could play guard. I don't. It's like these coaches that say, "Hey, when Dan Quinn, if he leaves, you don't want to have to go get a 3-4 defensive coordinator." These teams are multiple the way they play fronts. You got personnel you can do this with. You find a guy, you plug and play. They did it with Tyler Smith. They could do it with one of these other guys to kind of figure things out. I'll say this. Throw another thing in there too. That I mentioned the running back situation. I would not be opposed to taking a running back at 26,
especially if you're Longhorn got there.
Well,
he's not. He's not.
But I'm just saying, I'm not opposed.
There were a lot of Twitter questions.
Does it help the quarterback? Does it help the quarterback?
Absolutely.
Did we see what Pollard did for Dak Prescott in this thing?
He needed
the
it
whole
this
year.
week.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So to me, just throw that in there as another possibility, especially if they move on from Zeke and Tony, and you need something to go from that.
Well, since y'all talking about interior, since we're talking about it, are we talking about bringing back McGovern? Because I think that could have could play a factor on if you do go interior.
You would or you wouldn't? You said.
No, me personally, I probably wouldn't because I would ride with Tyron Smith at left tackle. I'd put him back at left tackle and put Tyler Smith at left guard.
I would do that too, but I would still bring
gonna
back McGovern because he could play anywhere.
Tyler,
they're not going to spend money on him when they got Farniak.
Tyler looked so much more comfortable to me at tackle, though.
He did. That's another thing is that I felt like he really honed in on that tackle spot, and you could see him getting better through the year. Towards the end of the year, I was like, oh yeah, that's where he's.
Are you going to move Tyron over though back to right tackle, or Terrence Steele? Where does he go into that equation? Because Tyron wasn't nearly as comfortable at right tackle as he would have been at left tackle.
Tyler had his warts. I don't know that 2023 Tyron Smith is a better left tackle than 2023 Tyler Smith. I don't know that.
Okay, then if that's the case, then you move on from Tyron Smith because you're going to take the $17 million and go do something else. I'm just saying that if you don't want to draft an interior, if you don't want to draft this team has proven if they draft offensive linemen in the first round, it usually works out very well for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So would you look at an interior guy that could play right guard and left guard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look
how much you like your center?
Interior. I wanted to replace him with Tyler Linderbaum last year.
But they kept 2 centers on the futures list, right? So I wonder if that hasn't. I mean, we talked about Broaddus not having a whole bunch of competition behind him or people behind him. I
think
wonder
they
if
go
that's
get
something
somebody.
that they look into.
How did you think McGovern played at center at the end of the year?
Not
good enough?
No. He was better at guard. This is why we only get through 1 or 2 questions
My
a
bad.
draft show.
I was
It's
trying.
phenomenal. Yeah, Broaddus was looking at me. He's like, you just asked the second question. I'll start with Iisha on this one. Maurice asked, what type of wide receiver would you want to make the best fit at number 2? If you're looking at wide receivers in this draft, the best complement to CeeDee Lamb, what type of wide receiver would it be?
Tater tots. Right now, I feel like you are lacking a Cole Beasley type guy, like a underneath guy that can win on his own, but is kind of shifty and can play on the
speedy slot.
Yes, I feel like Dak really has thrived when he's had a speedy slot guy. I think every team needs one, and if that slot has the ability to take the top off, also I think that could be beneficial. But I would like a guy that can take care of the intermediate stuff, but has maybe some yak ability to take it to the house.
What do you think, Bobby?
I
agree with you, by the way.
I'd be all in favor of that. I don't know that this coaching staff would be. Like, if we're just talking about slot-specific type of players, I don't know that. I think it'd have to be somebody with flexibility for them. I don't know that they'd be thrilled with, Downs or somebody like that to me, where I think, Downs would, play in the slot here. And then when you look at the
Josh Downs from North Carolina,
sorry, Josh Downs, North Carolina. Sorry, Beamer.
I got
you. So to me, I mean, clean route runner, but you look at a guy like Jordan Addison, who's a really good route runner. I think that's again, you're talking about size. Is he too small for them? Do they want somebody that's a little more physically built? The 2 things I feel like they missed at times this year were elite route runners who can get open, and then, as Brian talked about a lot during this year, guys who attack the football.
Yeah.
There were times that they just didn't have guys that attack the football. And you look at the 2 guys that are probably at the top of the draft in terms of the receivers, Jordan Addison at USC, Quentin Johnston at TCU, those guys both address that. Jordan Addison will get open. Quentin Johnston, I feel like, will attack the ball. And so for me, that's those 2 types of guys would be interesting to me.
I just don't know how much your big physical receivers that you continue to draft are helping you at this point. I understand that we're into size and all that stuff and whatever the case may be, but I think you have to have a good variation of it. You have to have options. I mean, everybody can't be the same build on this.
But who? I don't think they have anybody built. I don't think they've had anybody built like Quentin Johnston in
No,
years.
I wasn't talking about Quentin. I'm just talking about in general. You were talking
probably
about
Amari, right? That's probably the last guy. But even
Quentin's even bigger than him, I feel like, and different. Quentin is an X receiver.
Yeah. Straightforward X.
Definition of it. And so that, I mean, when you talk about that game against San Francisco, when you're talking about all this short and intermediate area stuff like that, he wouldn't you'd have fight there with Quentin Johnston in those sorts of passing games. I feel like he would be able to take advantage of the, all right, you're just running a curl or whatever else where there's not going to be a whole lot of opportunity to separate and just have 5 yards of separation and a wide open hit. Quentin Johnston's a guy that, okay, he's covered, but I feel like he's going to fight through the contact. He's going to finish the catch. And so those are the types of guys that I think could absolutely help them.
They need a home run hitter. That Jalen Hyatt, if you watch him at Tennessee,
yes, sir.
That's a home run hitter right there.
Yes, he is.
Every play he makes is big, and that quarterback did a good job of getting him the ball. And I know that team snaps the ball every 19 seconds, but you watch a guy like him, and you need somebody that's a home run hitter in this offense. And Iisha, to your point, the thing about the slot and all that makes perfect sense to me. That's why I was thinking that maybe the T.Y. Hilton stuff like that would show that. But Bobby's right. This coaching staff is not interested. The head coach is not interested in the smaller guys. He's just not interested in it.
He's always talked about the interchangeability of these wide receivers, of having to play both ways. Are they pigeonholing themselves in that regard? By wanting to be versatile, are they actually limiting the way that their offense can run by picking up some of these dynamic playmakers?
Maybe. Maybe at times, but I mean, I would see the argument from their side, which is we want the flexibility to know, we don't want to just they would view it as we're being pigeonholed on offense in terms of we're saying this guy can only play here. Okay, well, what can I get out of that? What kind of things can I do with the formation if this guy has to play here? And so I understand their perspective on it, but yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to maybe have bring in if you've got a Danny Amendola or somebody like that, like one of these guys who historically has been a smaller slot receiver who can just get open. I'm fine having one of those guys.
Yeah, if you're talking about, the question was like, what can you do to help your quarterback out or help out the offense? That was the first question, right? Mm-hmm. A slot.
A slot receiver.
A slot that's their job, and that's what they work.
There might have been a little bit of thought process on the order I asked these questions.
You try. I see you.
It in there.
Who was the biggest assist to Dak Prescott his rookie year as a pass catcher? Cole Beasley.
Yeah.
Cole Beasley was his safety valve more than even Jason Witten, and so I wouldn't be opposed to having a guy like that. I mean, Cole and Dak
especially if you move on from Dalton Schultz.
Just about to say that.
But you can get that from.
No. But I'm just talking about security blanket guy to throw to.
Well, that's what I thought you could possibly get from Ty. But to y'all's point, it's not something that it seems like they want to special.
Yeah, and I mean Ty is a little different, I think, because Ty was hopefully going to stretch the field, and you saw him do it against Philly, like that big play there and everything like that. But I mean also. Got to remember, Ty was on the street, and Ty's mid-30s almost. Like there's going to be limitations on that.
Mm-hmm. On whether or not he wants to come back too. He said one of the big reasons he didn't sign was he wanted to watch his kids play football and his kids play sports and grow up a little bit. So is he going to be willing to come back and go through an entire training camp and an entire regular season? Got to keep that in mind too. All right, third question. This is probably the last one we're going to get to. Carly asked, with the development of Bland and Mukuamu at corner potentially, is it as big of a need for the Cowboys as it first felt whenever Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis went down? Bobby, I'll start with you.
Yes.
C.
Yes. And look, I mean, I like the versatility that you see from Mukuamu and the way that he played in the slot those 2 weeks. That's great. But, yeah, you need – I mean, it feels like just yesterday that Trayvon Diggs got here, but we're talking about now he's eligible for a contract extension. We're entering the last year of his deal. You've got Diggs there. Brown likely gone. Lewis is entering the last year of his deal. I don't know how they're going to approach that. I think he's due $5-6 million coming up this year. Bland was good, but you've got questions behind Deron Bland. Kelvin Joseph and Deshaun Wright to this point have not been the players that they wanted them to be. I understand both of them have contributed on special teams. That's great, but you didn't pick corners in the second or third round just to be special teamers. And so, I think corner is still, especially in a 3-corner league, and you've got 2 legitimate ones right now. Yeah, I think a third corner is absolutely still a need.
I'm looking for a guy like Cam Smith from South Carolina, who I think he could play the slot. I think he could play outside. I think he's got great movement, the ball skills, things like that. He's a little bit of a block down tackler. I mean, kind of a guy you wish he'd wrap up a little bit, but he will come forward. He will make plays. He creates turnovers. The footwork, the awareness, they make up for any other deficiency that this kid might have. I'm looking for somebody that can play, I think, both spots. Much like what you got with Bland, because what's going to happen is these guys get hurt, and now somebody has to go play another position. I'm just throwing a name out there, a guy like Cam Smith from South Carolina. I think he'd be a good fit for that type of guy that can do both things.
I agree. It's still a need. We saw they were picking up people off the street. It's because depth is such an issue.
Yeah.
So go for it. Get more corners. Also, too, I mean, if we're being real, I mean, it affected your special teams play as well because you had to pull those corners from the punt team to come up and play for you. So do what you need
It's
to
a domino effect.
Absolutely.
I mean, once you move one guy around, you're going to have to move a couple guys around. I like the idea, Brian, of having somebody versatile. You don't have that guy. Maybe you do in Anthony Brown that can play inside and outside.
Well, it showed when they drafted Bland.
Possibly Bland.
They showed Bland could play inside or outside. Just give me the flexibility to have both positions kind of covered.
Bland kind of covered you up for the Kelvin Joseph mistake right now on this team specifically. Kelvin Joseph he's not working out.
We would be giving them so much credit if Kelvin Joseph was Bland. Mm-hmm. If Joseph played like Bland, we would be so happy about that.
No doubt. And they still deserve a ton of credit for getting Bland in the 5th round like they did. It was an excellent job.
A lot of teams missed on him. A lot of teams missed on him.
I know they sick.
All right, we're gonna fit a 4th one in here. 1-word answer here. Would you consider Bijan Robinson, the running back from Texas, if he falls to pick number 26?
I wouldn't consider it. I'd run the card up there.
Okay.
At 20,
oh wow! So you're already
at 26.
yourself.
I'm running the card.
You're running it anyways.
Absolutely.
At 26, let's go.
What's running a card?
Take it to the table.
Draft.
Done.
Draft
I'm
card
running.
Oh yeah.
You turn in the card.
Okay, then yes, then.
I'll say yes for Bijan, but nobody else. Nobody else running back wise.
I think the value of the player, and especially if you move on from Zeke and Pollard, you got a huge hole at running back, and we talked about how to help the quarterback. Bijan Robinson is, regardless of the position, is one of the best players I've seen in this draft.
Drafting a running back in the first round is the only position any longer where you can get the value that matches the contract. Where you could get production that matches a top-tier player and still you're locked in of 5 years of, okay, I'm comfortable paying a top-tier running back this amount, when in reality they may get close to $16 million once they hit the open market.
Not quarterback?
I just don't think you're going to get the same level. Like, running backs deteriorate by the time the second contract comes around. Quarterbacks usually elevate.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right. We got 4 done. Thomas Davis, Maurice, Carly, Michael, thank you for your questions. We will answer some more tomorrow on more Twitter on the 20. But when we come back, early pet cat candidates. It's one of the funnest things we do, most fun things we do here on the Draft Show. We're going to talk about some pet cats when we come back right after this.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Black Rifle Coffee Company serves premium coffee to people who love America. When you drink Black Rifle coffee, you are directly supporting veterans, law enforcement, and first responders in your community. Black Rifle's expert roasters love coffee almost as much as Texas loves football, so it makes sense that America's Coffee partnered with America's team. Go online at blackriflecoffee.com and fuel up with the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys. That's blackriflecoffee.com to fuel up today.
Lil Sweet! Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Lil Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is.
It's a non-fungible token. Everyone's done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Liberty Tax is a proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Schedule an appointment today at libertytax.com/Cowboys. Welcome back in to the Draft Show presented by Miller Lite, episode 1 of the 2023 draft process. Chris Beam, Bobby Belt, Bryan Broaddus, Iisha Morrison. I'm Kyle Youmans. All right. Let's get into pet cats. This is so much fun.
Y'all go first.
You got to explain what the pet cat is.
So the pet cat is somebody that's maybe a little bit under the radar. They don't have to be. You can pick a pet cat in the first round.
You can.
It's just the guy that you're going to stand on the table for. And it doesn't have to be all year long. You can leave your pet cat. You can leave it stray. You can let it wander a little bit. But if you want to bring it back, that's always there too. This is your early pet cats. So Bryan, what you got?
Cody Mock. He's a 6'5", 306-pound tackle from North Dakota State. Wears number 70. And I'll tell you what, he's a starting left tackle for the Bisons. This guy is an outstanding athlete. The way he moves, the ease that he plays with. You could pull him in space. You can use him on the backside with cutoffs. You can do a lot of things with him. He keeps it sustained. He didn't let his guys off the block. There's several plays where you see him just driving his man into the ground, and I love that about this kid. Plays at a really fine program. This team lives in Dallas every year, actually out here in Frisco playing in national championship games. I think that he gets away from the line no problem in the pass protection side. You could strike you with your hands and stuff. I never see this guy getting walked back. I mentioned he's 6'5", he's 306. I would consider taking this guy and moving in the center. is what I would do, because I'm thinking about these teams that have that ability. We've seen like the Philadelphia Eagles, other teams, Kansas City. If you have an athletic center, it happened here with Travis Frederick. You have a guy that's an athletic center. You can cut your defense in half. You can also pull him outside. You can actually maybe have a screen package, with his team hasn't had since Travis Frederick was here. But just, I think, he's got that kind of frame where he's a little long. It might be trouble adding bulk. But I really do like this kid from North Dakota State. His name's Cody Mock. He's a tackle that I think can maybe play as a center.
He's going to be a Senior Bowl guy too.
Yeah.
So he did accept
hopefully
the Senior Bowl
hopefully
invite.
they work in there a little bit. Yeah.
Maybe get back and forth for some practice film there.
Yep.
Very nice. Bobby, who you got?
I have, and this is, I thought this one was going to be a little bit more low key, and then I just saw Mel Kiper stuck him in the first round today.
Oh no.
Barnacles.
USC's Tuli Tuipulotu.
Yes.
I'm stunned Kiper has him in the first round.
I'm kind of stunned too, honestly.
Has
I thought he
him
was
going
like a second round guy.
21 or something like that. But to be fair, we all thought he was nuts when he projected Tyler Smith with his very first mock draft to the Cowboys last year. But this is a guy who, I was talking to Brian before the show, he reminds me of a little bit of Zach Allen from Boston College from a few years back, who finally has started to click for the Cardinals this year. But think maybe also like some other guys that you could say were similar, Trey Flowers, maybe not similar in that with Epinesa, AJ Epinesa, who ended up with the Bills. Not the same length, like it's not that kind of a guy, and he's bulkier, but in terms of powerful players, strong hands, he can play inside or outside. He stands up sometimes at like 6'4", 290 and rushes standing up. And so he's a guy who I think, the testing isn't going to be crazy with him, but plays with a lot of power, good initial burst. I think he's a high IQ rusher, and for this Dallas team that likes to play guys that can play inside, outside, 4-3, 3-4, whatever you want him to do. I think Tuipulotu could do that, so I like him a lot.
I watched his Cotton Bowl tape again against Tulane. He's a fun player. He flies around, and that was in a bowl game too. Yeah. I mean, there's guys that are playing and that are having some fun that with him off of that second level. I really like it. You want me to go next? Or you want to go next?
Nah, I'm gonna go.
Go for it.
All right, so my cat is
Tuipulotu.
My cat is a big cat. This is a chunky cat, but I love him though. All right, so Christian Mahogany from Boston College. Interior, he's a left guard. Played really well left guard. He, to me, is what I thought if you kept Tyler at guard, what he would have become. He's just nasty off the line, vicious hands, can get to the second level. He finishes well. I like his feet, but his anchor is serious. Like if people put their hands on him and he puts his hands on you, he's probably gonna have you stuck there. But he plays with a lot of power. I was impressed with him. If you watch him in the Clemson game, he put those dudes in a seatbelt. And you already know that Clemson D-line is nothing to deal. It's hard to deal with. But I really look at him, and I like the fact that he has flexibility at the right guard position as well. He played right guard his sophomore year, I believe. And then he actually played pretty well there. But then they moved him to left guard because, what's the gentleman's name?
Zion Johnson?
Zion Johnson. Yeah, Zion Johnson left. So then they moved him to left guard, and he succeeded there. So when you look at kind of what the Cowboys, we talked about it, you want to kind of keep Tyler at left tackle. Why not? If you have a guy you can bring in that can play that left guard at that level, those combo blocks with him and Tyler, Jesus. Then because they both have that, that attack, like I'm gonna finish, I'm gonna put my hands on you. And then again, we've seen injuries happen. You got a guy that you can continue to keep working, and maybe if you have something happen at right guard, you can slide him there. That versatility, I think, is going to get some people's attention. He's kind of under the radar, but I really like him, and I've been paying attention to him.
Very nice.
Yeah, sure.
I like it. Bobby, you may have to help me with his first name. Is it DeMarvion Overshown?
Yeah, he goes by just D.
It's D Overshown?
Yeah, D Overshown.
From Texas, linebacker. 6'4", 225. You would think he'd play off the edge. He played downhill. No, sir. He's a coverage linebacker. He used to play corner. Back in the day, through high school, early days
safety
of college,
corner,
played kind of that J-Ron Curse type of safety role if he was in there. He has experience playing that defensive back position, and you could see it in his footwork. Covers tight ends well. He does come down and hit. His athleticism, his speed are all there. He's got great length. He can bat down passes. He can kind of stick with guys at the top of their routes. I like him a lot for a guy that may not be – he's not a first-round guy, not a second-round guy, but you talk about third round, top 100 back end guy. You're picking at 90. So you're going to have some back end third round guys. He's a value pick for me that I think would be really, really fun because he's still a project, not a great tackler. Not going to come up and just wreck you. Great in coverage, not as great in run defense either. Those are things that I think are teachable, though, and if you can maybe pick him up at that 90 spot, I think you're going to have some success. Maybe somebody. Have you seen him, Bobby?
I mean, I haven't studied him yet, but just watching him, he's steadily progressed. Yeah. He was a big time. He was a big recruit for them when he got to Texas, but he's steadily progressed. The instincts look better each year. He is a very flexible, that's a guy who they felt comfortable okay, we can blitz him, we can play him at linebacker, we can play him at safety. He's somebody who I think they feel like, okay, he can impact things on defense on all three levels if you want him to.
And it is DeMarvian, just for
like
my
I said,
own
I
purposes.
call him D. D Overshown. That's what everybody else calls him.
I'm putting D right here in quotations just to make sure.
There you go.
D Overshown.
Just to make sure, but I want to make sure and get it right. So whenever they pick him in round 3, I can make sure and say it the right way.
That's your guy.
I forgot to mention my guy's size. He's 6'3", 318 pounds.
Beefy.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he's a big dude. That's why I said he's hard to move.
Interior, too.
Now, honestly, but I will say, creeping. I was creeping on the reading and stuff, and his weight. Look. His weight.
We call it studying. You got it.
It's
creeping.
Yeah.
I call it creeping. My bad. But yeah, I what's one thing about him though? It's I like that he's big and he's heavy, but that's something that it sounds like could be not a con, but something that people are iffy about. Is he needs to stay at a good size.
Yeah.
He can get heavier at times. So whoever is coaching him, it has to keep him, grounded.
So his weight will fluctuate then, as you say?
Absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like his weight can fluctuate, and he can. It's hard out here for a pimp, but no, sometimes. But sometimes he can get on the heavier side. So I think that's just something to keep an eye on, and that can affect his movement at times. So that's the only thing about him. But that punch is disgusting. His first punch is disrespectful.
I'm going to watch him today. Yeah. I'm going to go and watch him a little bit. I'm going to watch your North Dakota State guy today.
Yeah, that's good about the pet cats, man, because what happens is these guys end up playing in the league, and then everybody will tweet at you like, hey, your guy's just killing these people and stuff like that. So
he's a mauler.
Yeah, I mean, you are single-handedly.
Boston College has some good linemen.
You're single-handedly responsible for anybody knowing who George Karlaftis is, for instance.
I'm Karlaftis.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Beam, is that a drop yet? Do we have that yet?
I probably don't have
Probably
that.
not.
Okay, we need to make it happen.
I'll pull it. I'm gonna send it to you.
If you can find it, send it to me.
I know where it is. I'll send it to you.
We'll make it work. That was so fun. And Sky Moore, I mean, every time I look at him, I think of Jeff Kavanaugh.
Yeah, absolutely.
In that ugly number 24 jersey.
Oh, it looks awful. Awful. All right, so that's our first episode of the Draft Show here in 2023. Here's the good thing about the way we've scheduled this. You don't have to wait very long for the second one. We're going back-to-back days. We will be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central Time. We'll get that thing posted as well. I want you to, if you're a draft fan out there and you're listening, send us your pet cats. Put it on the record.
Yeah.
Start sending it to it. Tag Bobby, tag Brian, tag Iisha, tag myself. Give us your pet cats. I want to know where you're standing with some of these guys because it is fun to just kind of put a name on there and ride with them for as long as you possibly can. But it should be a fun draft process. I'm excited to be back with you guys, to welcome Iisha to the table. This is going to be an exciting next couple months, guys.
Looking forward to it.
Ready to go? That does it for us. For Bobby Belt, Bryan Broaddus, Iisha Morrison, and Chris Beam, I'm Kyle Youmans saying so long from the Draft Show. We'll see you tomorrow.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!